why addicts will IV drugs, and I share for educational purposes only because for a lot of people, this doesn't make a lot of sense because no addict typically out there at all is gonna wake up one day and go, you know what, I'm gonna shoot up. I am going to just take this, I'm gonna find a vein and I am going to inject crystal meth into my veins. No addict goes that route. This is a progression, and this is truly the sickness of addiction, and why I share is to maybe help somebody grasp the concept of how sick we are as an addict and how we progress as an addict. So I'm a recovering cocaine and alcoholic addict, and I am sharing for educational purposes only of when we start off as an addict, most addicts are going to start off with snorting a drug, snorting cocaine, snorting crystal meth. Snorting has always come off as the safest way to do it. Let's face it, subconsciously you see it done in movies. You see people talking about it. It comes off as a party way to do it, is snorting it. So this is safer. Almost a pill form is even safer than that. But snorting it is in our brain the next safest way. When it comes to cocaine, I mean, that's how you do cocaine, right? You snort it. The absorption rate of cocaine, for example, when you snort it is roughly about 40 to 50%. So what the absorption rate is cocaine, the drug itself, absorbing into your system, into your brain, is about 40 to 50%. You're not actually harnessing in all of this drug. It has a very quick half-life. It shuts out of your system in about 15 minutes. And there's the high. Now, what cocaine's gonna do, because of that massive amount of dopamine being produced, is it starts readjusting your dopamine receptors. So you're not getting the same high all of a sudden. And now I never progressed. My method of choice played into my addiction. So you also have to remember that. We all as addicts have a method of choice. That method of choice actually produces dopamine. It excites us. We thrive on it. The thought of rolling up a dollar bill, breaking it up, scraping lines, versus lighting it up and heating it up and poking yourself. I mean, we all have these ways of actually thriving on it. Our brain thrives on that and actually will create dopamine just thinking of our method of choice. That's how sick we are as an addict. And again, why I'm doing this video is to show you how sick we truly are. Addiction truly is a sickness. So you start smoking it, or you start, snorting cocaine. Now, the next thing comes along and you're snorting crystal meth, you're snorting these different drugs is, okay, you're gonna run into people eventually that'll be like, dude, have you tried this? Have you tried smoking that? Well, smoking it is actually a lot more potent. So the absorption rate in smoking it is going to be roughly 60 to 70%. And so it's a higher absorption rate, which means it's going to hit your system harder again. So you're starting to build up the tolerance snorting it. So now when you go to smoking it, it is going to give you a different high all of a sudden. It's going to be a stronger high because of this higher absorption rate. So now you smoking foils, which is heating it up and inhaling the vapors. Crack cocaine is another way to do it. This absorption rate's really high. Now, because the absorption rate, the higher that it is, the quicker it burns out of your system. So this is going to leave your system faster now, which leads you down this whole pathway to addiction, harder cravings, harder urges, bigger crashes. So the more absorption rate is going to equal the bigger crashes you have, which now what do you do to fend off a crash? You're just going to keep using. So you go to the smoking route. And now the last stop is essentially the IV route. IVing a drug is going to be an absorption rate of 100%. You will have this all hit your system extremely fast and extremely hard because each of these methods hits it harder. Now keep in mind, if you take it as a pill, say you take an opiate as a pill, your absorption rate's like 30%, 40%, versus IVing it, that's 100%. There's a huge difference in how that high is going to be. So that's how we progress as an addict and how our sickness truly progresses. And that's the thing I don't think a lot of people really realize is why do people do these processes and keep moving up is because you're constantly chasing this high. Your brain is trying to readjust itself. You're pounding it with different dopamine. You're pounding it with serotonin. All this, your brain is going haywire, trying to protect itself, trying to shut things down, trying to level things out. And in the meantime, we don't care about that. We don't think of that. We just think of, I got to get this better high. And so you go to the point of shooting up. And shooting up is going to have the highest absorption rate of anything. And so that is the progression essentially of how we as addicts go. It's not necessarily, does it have anything to do with this is how we're going to start off. We're just chasing highs. And that's the scary part about addiction. And it's amazing when you talk to most addicts, they're going to tell you that they started off with either alcohol, Started off with painkillers. You're not going to hear, I'll be real with you. I've never heard an addict go, I never drank, I never did painkillers or anything. I just did weed. I don't think weed's really a gateway drug. I think the gateway drugs truly, in my own personal, not professional experience, but as an addict, are alcohol and opiates. And they're for two different reasons. Opiates are going to bond to brain receptors, so it gets you hooked that way, versus alcohol. Man, you got a couple drinks in me, I'm going to snort whatever's put out in front of me, and you're going to tell me this is going to make me feel better. I'm not logically thinking at all, so I'm down for that. That's the scary part about how it works. So as an addict, is we start to just this whole progression up of chasing these highs, chasing these feelings, chasing these escapes, to the point that you don't realize, and even as an addict myself, you get to these points in life where you look back and you're like, how did I get here? Because I didn't start off this way. But how did I get to this point? And it's a really scary, just coming to realization, factor. And that's where like a lot of family members, a lot of people don't understand is with an addict, you don't realize you're becoming an addict until it's too late. You're so hyper fixated on chasing a high that you don't realize that you're progressing from snorting something to smoking something to injecting something. You don't realize this process you're going through. And it is so scary when you want to get sober, because you get to this point in life where you're like, you're down such a dark path, like I'm never going to recover. And now you feel that you're never going to recover. So I might as well keep going to the chaos that I understand and know. And that's how sick we are as addicts. A lot of addicts, when we're getting sober at 35, 40 years old, 45 years old, you feel your life has passed you by, and what's the point of even getting sober? You don't want to really live. It's called almost like passive suicide, where you don't want to live, but you don't want to die, so you just keep using because you don't see the purpose of getting sober. And I will say this, it does get better, and it gets phenomenally better, but it's a difficult place to be. It takes a lot of support, and you got to fight for it. And that's why I always will tell people, like, share your story, talk about it, talk about your struggles. When you're struggling, talk about it. This is why I share videos like this, to hopefully maybe bring some calmness to a family who goes, why is my kid doing this? Or why is my husband doing this? Or to somebody out there who's trying to get sober going, okay, I am insane, but I'm not alone. And that goes a long ways when getting sober, is to be like, dude, I'm not insane, but I'm not alone, and that's okay. And that is huge to know, is that you aren't insane, you're not alone, and just start finding out what works for you, because we all do get sober differently. And if you're new to the channel, hit the like and follow button, comment down below. The more that we share our stories and what worked for us, and just that we didn't give up and that it did actually get better, the better it is for everybody out there. Because even for myself, it took me years for it to get better. And I got mad. I would relapse a lot of times because in 6 months, my life wasn't amazingly better. It turned out, realistically, it took like 5 years of being sober to have my life a tremendous amount better. 3 years into my sobriety, my life became better. But it wasn't overnight. It wasn't as soon as I got sober, life started becoming good. It never happened that way. And that's why I share. And then when it comes to getting sober, just remember that there is no right or wrong way of getting sober. It's your way of getting sober. And that's whether, you go to a, NA or AA or Al-Anon. Meetings like that help. Having outside connections help. Go to rehab, inpatient treatment or outpatient treatment. Download Sunflower Sober. It's tagged down below. Link is in the bio. You got 24-hour AI sponsored support. It's in the iOS store, Google Play Store. It's cheaper than a case of beer a month. Get into the community. You have therapists. You have journaling and coping skills and learning sections. You can learn all about addiction and how to really fight through addiction and cravings, and you have support. You go to a doctor, a psychiatrist, a therapist. Get on the right meds. Sometimes we're coping for mental illness. Sometimes mental illness and depression, all this stuff is coming up along the way, and now we have stuff to cope for, or we've started facing a ton of trauma. It's all about fighting through it and finding what works for you, finding what the right combination is, and it's different for everyone. For the one going through it right now, I am proud of you. Don't give up. It does get better, and you're worth it.